Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another virtual cafe through the WeCan project. As many of you know, WeCan stands for Women Entrepreneurs Can, and we're located in Kingston, Ontario. We are led by Queen's University and funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. And I know many of you have heard me say that before, but it's always a good reminder as to the fact that I'm not the only one on this team, and that we are a very, I would say, active team of individuals who are supporting women entrepreneurs in the greater Kingston region and certainly beyond because of our virtual, events and such. So welcome to everyone. It's so great to have you here. And if you don't mind, in the chat, just putting a little note about maybe where you're connecting from geographically, as well as if you have a business, let us know what it is so that we can get to know you a bit better. If you have a website link or a LinkedIn account and you want to add that as well, you can do that. Just let us know, because we love to network as well as learn. So these virtual cafes, as you can see, there's no sage on the stage, as I like to say. There's more guides on the sides. And so you guys are also the guides, because we're going to be asking questions today. We're going to be offering solutions. I love the virtual cafes because they stimulate some great discussions. And very often they're questions that if one person has them, very often other people do as well. So that can be very helpful. While you're taking a moment in the Zoom chat to let us know where you're connecting from, and if you have a business, what it is, I will take a moment to acknowledge that I'm connecting to this workshop from the Bay of Quinte region, which is just outside Kingston. This is the ancestral territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And it is my family's privilege to live, work, and play on these lands. And one thing I'll mention is that if you are interested in finding out which territory you live on, you might not even realize what the Indigenous history and who the original folks were that were in your area. Then you can go to the website that is native-land.ca. I hope it's helpful to you. A lot of people have told me about that and recommended it. And so that's just a place that you can go to learn more if that's helpful for you. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking a moment in the Zoom chat to let us know where you're connecting from. Today's virtual workshop is focused on websites, of course. And so we are going to invite you to ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer or to point you in the direction of resources. But I thought that I would just lay a framework for how our virtual cafes work. So the idea, because it is more discussion based, we are looking to limit questions and or answers to, a couple of minutes so that we can make sure to see if there's others who want to engage with the question or answer. So don't be shy in terms of asking or answering, but we do look for folks to, limit the time so that we can make sure that we get to everyone where possible. So that's sort of my job as the facilitator. If you see me step in, it's only because of time. So welcome to the folks who are joining us. So great to have you with us. I have jotted down a couple of guiding questions as well for us to think about as we're going. And that would be sort of, what platforms are you using already? I know that's always, people are interested to find out what other web-based platforms people are using. Some of the key elements of a great website. Some of, perhaps on the other hand, the detractors. What are things that are just not good to have on a website? As well as how do you engage your audience, right? It's not that we just want them to go to our website. We want them to take action when they go to our website. So those are a few ideas I toss out there as well. But I realize many of you might have questions. So let's dive in. I've done enough talking. Would anybody like to kick it off, whether that is, do you have a question? Did you come with a question? Let's start. And then we can always go into some of those questions that I mentioned if we need to. Anybody would like to get started? Oh, and I should have said, if you would like to participate, you can raise your hand, or honestly, you can go off of mute and you can just chat, because we are a small group setting and that's what's ideal for this.
Kerry?
Yes.
I need help with, I'm already on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all that. Problem is, my daughter makes fun of me because she says, I don't know how to post. So that's why I'm here today, is because I need to learn the proper lingo and what to do. And especially if I'm starting my business and want to promote my business online. So.
All right. So are you talking about posting on social media in that case?
What's that?
Are you meaning posting on social media or posting to a website?
Posting on social media.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So yes, very good question. And there's others in this group who we've had this very same conversation. So you shouldn't feel like it's an odd question. Yes, it's absolutely, it's something we can do. And actually, you know what? We have next month's virtual cafe is actually focused on social media. So I'm gonna make a note of this question, because I want to make sure that we come to it. And I'm not going to, so does somebody want to jump in? Go ahead and let's give some tips. And I wanted to highlight that next month it will be all about social media, but let's use that as a jumping off point. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
So my old boss, we had a little tutorial about how not to post on LinkedIn. So the thing to remember, everybody says to talk like you're talking to one person, but don't. Speak like you're speaking to one person, but remember that there are 5,000 other people in the room. So you can't say, if somebody asks a question, you're like, yeah, I'm going to send you my resume. No, that doesn't need to be public. That needs to be a private conversation. So pretend that you're in a room, like a group meeting, and you're either speaking to the room or you're speaking to one person. And don't post to one person, post to the room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and are you posting on behalf of a business, Jacqueline? Is that your purpose of posting?
Well, yes, not always, but yes,
Okay.
that's what my direction is now. Like, I'm going to be setting up new accounts, and I want to have just specific information on that. And I'm also doing writings that I want to post in a blog.
Okay.
So those are the two things that I'm doing right now. So
when it comes to just giving some context to that, one thing I always suggest to clients is that they think about it in terms of pillars. So if you think about what are the different pillars that I speak on, because you can't speak on everything, right? It's like when somebody comes to your website, they should have a pretty good idea about what you stand for, your website or your social feed. The two are going to be linked, obviously. They should, by just glancing either at your website or your social, they should get a feel for what your brand is. They should know either what you're selling or what you stand for or what you value. So I like to think about it as 4 pillars. So one of those pillars might be what you sell. So maybe let's say you sell sourdough bread. So there's going to be pictures of sourdough bread every, 4 or 5 posts or more.
okay.
So there's that paid offer that you make. The next pillar might be like your personal pillar. It might be telling people who Jacqueline is and showing people the woman behind the brand, right? Because we buy from people, especially at the local level, right? It's a local business. So you might, and revealing a little bit about, I'm in downtown Kingston, what a beautiful day for the market, things that you like to do. Another pillar might be, inspirational quotes as they relate to creative women, and then you might have another post about, I don't know, community or something. I'm sorry, not posts, but pillars. So your pillars kind of guide and direct your social content, but they always link back to what the purpose of your business is, right? So I think that might be the biggest struggle people and women entrepreneurs have when it comes to posting is like, what do I talk about? Well, when you have 4 pillars, or it could be 5, pillars set up, then you just sort of say, okay, have I posted lately about my paid product? Oh, no, maybe I should do that now. Rather than when I go to someone's feed, it's all the same. Like either it's all about them and I don't know what they sell, or it's all about bread, and they're just sell. And I'm like, okay, but who's behind the bread? Show me how you're making the bread. So it's an artful dance almost. And frankly, the more you do it, the easier it gets. That would be one tip. And then my last one before I throw it out there to anyone else is that, look, follow some great accounts, some people that you admire. And I always say, don't copy them, but let it inspire you a little bit to give you new ideas. That's where I'll leave that. So great question. Thank you, Jacqueline. And we'll loop back. I will also in the chat put the fact that we do have a social media focused virtual cafe next month. I hope you'll come back for it as well, because we'll go even deeper. All right, so website questions. Anyone who has a question you'd like to throw out for the group? And if not, I will use a guiding question. Don't worry. Go ahead, Chantal.
I always have questions, but Maria had one too. So Maria, you go first.
You can go first, no worries.
Okay.
I can wait.
So I get a lot of compliments on my website that it's simple and it's easy to follow and easy to find stuff. And but then I get others who are in the business of making website who say, you should do this and you should put these bells and whistles. So I'm kind of curious at what the group feels about how fabulous do you need to make your website, or is it okay to just keep it more basic?
Great question. Let's throw that out to the group. Who would like to respond?
I don't know much about websites. It's just like I'm in a pre-contemplative phase of my project, but I think people really don't care about bells and whistles. If the product is what's, a bestseller, they're going to go for that.
And it's a good point, Lamia. You don't have to be a website expert to say, because we all go to websites, right? And we know the ones that resonate with us as consumers, or the ones we just are so confusing that we leave right away. So I think clarity, which you mentioned, Chantal, is absolutely clear. I love a simple website myself. But like, what do other people think about that? Lamia, good point. Go ahead, Florina.
In addition to simplicity, which I absolutely like, one might take into account to keep the special effects to a minimum for people that have slow internet, because and limited amount of time to browse. Because if you cannot get your message there in a time-effective manner, I feel like you may lose the attention of the people that landed on your website.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Lorena, you had a comment as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I'm also in the pre-stage, like I'm thinking of the pages that are absolutely necessary, because I also agree. I think simplicity right now, I mean, I get a million emails and they just seem to be getting longer and longer, like really kilometric, except they're supposed to, that's my word for it. And I go, okay, I just don't have time to go through the whole thing. Like I just kind of, and I feel kind of like there's all this effort put into writing this, like the copy, if you had the time to read it, is quite amazing in terms of the writing, but you just don't have time to engage with it as a person on the other side. And so I'm thinking, like, when I have to send out, or I'm a coach, so I'm going to have to send offers and things like that. I just want to make it really, really simple, right? So I'm thinking the website should follow that. The navigation of the website too should be really, like when you're linking to other pages, I don't want to, at least that's the way I'm thinking about mine. I don't want to be linking to so many things that it becomes all confusing. So like just very simple trajectory, flow to the thing. And in that, and maybe, I mean, right now or later, we'll deal with this. What are the pages that are absolutely necessary to be there? And what are the pages like to start with? And what are the pages that you can add on after if you want? Or I know that you can add stuff like landing pages or something like that, which I'm not sure if, I'm not sure, but so those, I think those are temporary or something. But anyways, yeah, so that's my comment.
Very good. Very good point and question. I want to get to that question next. Wrapping up, Chantal, the other thing what comes to mind in terms of a simple website, which I do vote for, and I think a lot of people are voting that way here, is accessibility, right? Just from an accessibility point of view, the more complicated we make it, the less people can access it who might have accessibility issues. So I would always run it through that sort of a test as well. That would be a thought. Anyone want to add to that conversation before we move on to the essential pages that a website should have? All right, so this might be interwoven throughout some of this other talk, Chantal, but thanks for the great question. So I love this question as well. Pages that you feel are necessary on a website. Who would like to chime in? What are some, oh, Maria had a question too, I missed it. After this one, we're going to you, Maria.
No, very simple. I have a website. This website is very simple because we want to bring the astronomy close to the people, but not just the scientific people or the people that have the knowledge about astronomy. We want to bring the astronomy to the kids, for example, in the schools. So I know the website, you can move the telescopes here in Chile through this website, but I know my website, it's working, it's very functional, but it's not the most pretty website in the world. It's not pretty, it's no, my question is some tips to have that I have to know to catch this kind of clients. For example,
So
because I know scientific people, they don't mind about the page, but the other kind of people, they pay attention in the details of the website.
So the question is that you've hit on is who is the audience for the website, right? So who is the audience? You said children, I think. You want this information. Is it specifically children?
Children or people that want to explore about more about astronomy or want to see a galaxy. Yeah, but beginners, yeah.
Okay.
But they
don't have. You might have already put your website in the Zoom chat, but feel free to do that if you'd like, and people can check it out and maybe offer some feedback in the Zoom chat if you'd like. But I think that you've hit on the thing is who is the audience of the website? And we have to look at it through their lens. If we're an academic or an astronomer in this case, and we know all the science and like, how do we simplify that again to that theme so that whatever audience it is, they can get the most out of it? And I think one of the best ways to test that is to show it to your potential audiences and say, what do you think? So if it's a children's audience, do a focus group or put it out there and get some feedback.
We have two interfaces in the website. We have in the software, we have two interfaces. One interface is for advanced, it's advanced interface for people that like teacher or students of universities. But the other interface is from beginners. My question is how can catch in the first page, for example, these two kind of audience.
Okay, let's throw that out. What do you folks think? One website, two audiences. You arrive at the main page. Go ahead, Chantal.
One thing I've seen done like that is literally you arrive at the main page and there's two big buttons. One says for kids and one says for scientists, or however you want to do it. And then they might look differently once you punch into those buttons and follow.
Yep. When we're talking simplicity, I love the idea of a big button. It could be like a door, like even, but here we're talking about, like, I would even make it to reflect astronomy. So maybe it's like the telescope lens, like here's like one and you can see stars. It says for academics or whatever. And over here it's kids only or something, which is fun anyways. But I like that idea of dividing it very clearly as well. So yeah, very cool. Anyone else have a thought on how to treat a website that might be for two audiences? Not yet. Oh, Merle, did you have something?
Hi everybody. For me, I'm new at this. I'm newly retired, but now I'm having the best time because I do freelance consulting for the federal government. So I have my name out there with a lot of consulting and contract employers. I also teach yoga. I also do gift baskets for events or parties or just celebrations. So I do little, or if weddings or hostess gifts. So I do that. So I am all over the place. It excites me, but I just don't know how to contain that in one website. So I love the idea of having different streams so that you're really targeting your audience, but the main page would basically be like a little business card. And then you would have various buttons or clicks for the specific freelance items that I'm working on. But I just still think it's all over the place. And in my mind, I can't grasp my head around how I would put that together in one website because it's just so diverse.
Okay, I love that question. So I've made a note of it because I just don't want to lose Lorena's question on the pages of the website. So we're going to go there and then we're coming straight to you now. Okay, so Lorena's question was, what are the most important buttons on that website? And this speaks to all of us. It even speaks to Meryl's question just a moment ago. So go ahead, and what are your thoughts? What's a must-have, first of all? Yep, Sarah.
About, like, to say who you are and how to work with you.
Yes, so about you, or about, it could be about us, about me. You can word that different ways, but usually when people see about, they're like, oh, okay, the person behind the brand. Love it. And then Sarah also mentioned a button that says how to work with me, or let's work together, or something like that. Absolutely, because those are two important. One is a call to action. One is telling people who you are. What is maybe another important button, folks, that you think might be important on a website, not to be missed? I'm thinking too.
Contact information. Contact us.
Yes, contact us. So how to work with us might be just information about how, like, they can engage, what are the services, for instance, whereas contact us is very clear. Contacts. So what can you offer? Yeah. Some people put that as services, like they might literally call that services at the top. I like also freebies on a website. That's me. One of my clients and I were recently working on her website. And when you come to a website, there's often people like something for free before they buy from you, right? It's like going to Costco, as I always say, and taste testing before you buy the whole jar of sauce, right? So if you can offer a little button that says free download, or even freebies, whatever, and then you have a free quiz or a free, whatever it is, if you can give something away for free, it gives them a taste. That would be, to me, now it's maybe not the absolute you must have in your first website launch, but I think it's a nice conversion button eventually to have. Other thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Lorena.
Could I ask, instead of freebies, would it be understandable if because I was thinking of something like that, but calling it resources? Would that make sense? Or is that something that you don't necessarily associate, you don't necessarily go there to see if there's something that I'm offering? Because as a service, right? I might have a mini course or some articles on, I don't know, whatever, self-confidence or stress, how to deal with stress, stuff like that. So would that make sense to people, or is that something that it wouldn't be as clear as freebies or something?
I like free resources, that like you could put free resources. To me, when I see resources, it suggests that you're going to take them off your website and to someone else's. Florina, go ahead. What was your thought? Oh, you're on mute.
I was going to say the exact same thing, and I think Chantal also made the same comment. When I see resources on a website, I feel like it's going to take me off the website. I don't think it's something that's going to be offered to me as a taste of the services or product.
Yeah, that's my experience as well. So I would suggest, if you're going to use the word resources, maybe free resources. So yes. Anyone else about important pages on the website? Sarah?
I was just going to say, I think that the word resources depends on who your market is, because, for example, like Chantal's website is awesome, Resources on that site would not be a useful term. Resources for me is a useful term because I'm a consultant. I don't have a product per se. So
Okay, good point.
it's different.
Good point. Okay, I'm gonna throw this out to the group, continue the conversation. I'm having some Zoom issues, so I'm gonna go out of the Zoom and then I'm gonna Zoom back in, all right? So the meeting will continue. You can do it without me. So go ahead and just talk about important pages and I'll be back.
One of the things that I've noticed on websites are that people are including podcasts to express what it is they do, how to make it relevant to whatever the population is that they want to service, or also YouTubes with the same sort of thing. So I'm noticing that. And I just also find that very overwhelming because it's almost like you have to be a production artist and a website designer, and then you have to get all your technology in line. There's just so many components that I find are integrated in a website that I think it's over the top, but I am noticing more and more that podcasts are also some of the offers on websites. And I prefer keeping it simple, even as a consumer. I like simplicity as well, but it's just that all these different things are bombarding my headspace when I'm thinking, but I'm missing this and I'm missing that. So I just find that the podcast, I don't know if that's even a necessary tool, but maybe if you are a consultant, that might be a helpful thing, because then you can communicate the service that you're offering, whereas you don't necessarily have a picture, but you would have an actual conversation. But still, it's a production to actually put that on a site. So that's, I just find it overwhelming. So thanks for listening to me.
Generally speaking, with a podcast, that's their primary product. Like, that's how they get their audience. And the website is just a place to put it so that people can go find the podcast. The website isn't that's not their focus. So it really depends on what your specific product is. Like, if you want people to come to your website and buy stuff, then your website is most important. For them, the website is it's a business card, right? It's not their primary focus. Their podcast or their YouTube channel is how they make their money, where they want their people to go. So if you want your website to be the thing and the place and the destination, then you don't have to worry about any of that other baloney. And like, there's so much social media noise. You don't have to be everywhere. Pick one place to be and be consistent and focus on it. And then you put the link on your website so that if people want to go there, that's great, but they don't have to.
Sounds good. I just popped in at the last tail. Thanks for keeping the conversation going. Caro, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have podcast. I don't have YouTube channel. I did couple video on my Facebook page for my store, but when I did like an online platform building course before, I have my website long time, but I started to do e-commerce, so shop online for 4 years ago. I took a course and then they say, decide which one is your country. So country base. And then others are all embassies. And I really like the idea. So my website, chachati.com, is my country. And then Facebook, Instagram, other little things are embassies or consulate. So
love it.
Yeah. So they say social media, we don't own it. Right. So we have to have something we can totally control. So I decided to do my website, but I don't do too much activity there. So that's why I'm here today. But I think you cannot do everything at once. And especially you have many faces. So maybe you want to choose one core and then you add different embassies. I think it made sense to me.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that idea. And to your point, we don't have to be everywhere. Absolutely. And going back to Jacqueline's initial question about social media, I love that idea of, I think of it as the mothership. I love the country's idea too, but I think of the website as like the mothership, where it's like everything is, the most important stuff is there. And then the social media I call visibility tools, which point back to the website, right? Or the main platform, whatever that might be. So that makes a lot of sense. You're right. And you choose, to Sarah's point, where you want to show up consistently rather than having 6 different social media and nothing's been posted since August. Well, in that case, like, people aren't going to follow you, or, and they're not going to put much credibility in what you're doing, because they're like, oh, maybe she's out of business. Well, no, she's in business. She just is busy. And so pick your thing. And when it comes to choosing your social media, choose it based on your audience as well, right? Not just about, oh, I like Facebook. Well, what if your audience is actually on Instagram? And I know Chantal's gone through this experience as well, of the shift, and now she's growing like great guns. So it's very exciting. We can still learn new things. That's the good thing, but we don't have to know all the things. So absolutely. So has this question, I ducked out there, sorry, Zoom has been giving me issues lately. Has that question been answered, Lorena, in terms of the major pages, hopefully? The other question, where's the one? Oh, back to Merle's question now about being a multi-hyphenate, as I like to call it, having multiple interests. And many of you probably on this call are passionate entrepreneurs who have many interests. So how do we capture that on a website in that case, without confusing people, if we're talking about simplicity? And I have an opinion on this, but let me throw it out to the group. All right, I don't hear any initial responses.
I think it depends what the businesses are. I have 2 businesses and I've kept them completely separate because they're 2 completely different entities. I have a crafting business and I have an architectural firm. The 2 don't really intermix, not well. So I kept them separately. For some people that offer consulting services, but also offer online webinars, but it's the same topic, it makes sense to house them on one website.
Yeah, and I think Lisa's hit on a core question, which comes back to audience. My question would be, is it the same audience? So I'm familiar with both of Lisa's businesses. They are not the same audience. There might be 1 or 2 people, but I'm not going to say, like, there's architectural design and there is her crafting business, right? And so the question, not to say, I would look at it from the audience point of view. If a woman looking for yoga comes to this website, is she going to be confused by the fact that I also have XYZ? Because if you confuse your audience, you lose them. That's it, done, right? Because they have about 1 billion websites that they could be looking at right now. If they actually have taken the time to come to yours, we want to make sure it's simple and very clear about what this website is and what you're offering her in this case, or him. So that's the way I would look at it, through the lens of the audience, and just say what works best for that person and what will keep them on the website and get them to click. That would be this one thing I would say. And then just from a general business point of view, I'm a big fan of really niching down. I like to, and I appreciate multi-hyphenate and passionate interests, because that's what fuels us. But I would say, what if you could focus on one of those and get that running and get it incredibly successful? There's nothing to stop you from adding to that once you have a dedicated, loyal audience. And then they could come to Lisa and say, I love your architectural design. Oh, you also do crafting? That's cool. I really like that. But she's already built a rapport and a reputation that's strong. And now people go to her other properties as well. I don't know if it would exactly work that way, but again, 2 points. Think about it from the point of view of the audience. Niche down if you can and get to be the expert and the go-to person for one thing. And not to say you can't stop doing other things for fun, but from a business point of view, it makes a lot of sense to focus on one and build it. I don't know, in my experience working with hundreds of women entrepreneurs, I find that energy, we only have so much energy. So to be building 4 businesses simultaneously is a lot more challenging. Go ahead, Caro, I see your hand up there.
I think it depends on what is your focus, your product or yourself. So I sell tea. So my website is all about tea. And then the website name is chachatea.com, just tea, right? But if you want to sell yourself, if I want to sell myself, I would do maybe kaorumiller.com. And then I would have different button, maybe, I don't know, tea. I don't teach yoga, but I practice yoga and I practice piano. So I may have different face of me, but I think it depends what you want to sell.
That's
Yeah,
a
so
really
if
good
you want to
point.
sell yourself, personal brand or company brand, maybe you can change that.
Yeah, I like that. And maybe you have a website that still links back to the personal brand website, again, for a sense of clarity. Like Martha Stewart is a household name. So marthastewart.com, like I'm going to go there and learn all about the aspects of Martha. But until we're Martha Stewart status and we're searchable by name, that's why people are not going to type in necessarily, what is Kerry Ramsay doing? They're going to be like, I need help with branding. Right? They're not looking for me, they're looking for the solution to their problem. That's how people search on the website, right? So we want to make sure that our websites are designed to respond to their struggles and say, hey, I have a solution, rather than necessarily, this is me and all I do, if they don't understand how I solve their problem. That's just from a business point of view, is that people won't look for us as people, they'll look for the solution to their problem. So that would be another way to look at it, is maybe you solve their problem. Maybe peace. Maybe they're looking for peace. I want peace of mind. And they go to merlemoses.com where she sells them peace. Sorry for that term, but she provides peace through yoga, through all these 3 different things. But really what she's selling is peace of mind. So if it's that kind of thing, that there's a common element to it all, then I would sell the common element. Over to Avery and then Chantal.
Hi. So I totally agree with what you guys are saying, picking something more specific, because that definitely is going to help not to confuse the audience. But I love the personal branding as well, because especially in this age, people love, you don't necessarily have to become an influencer, but it definitely helps build confidence in your brand and what you provide, because you're like a reputable person. And so if you decide to just go with yoga or decide to sell peace, like Kerry was saying, selling a single idea, I think that definitely is a really cool point about the personal brand, because it has helped a lot of people really be able to sell their product. And then also, once we're done with this question, I do have a question.
All right, Chantal, let's go. That's an excellent point, Avery. Chantal, go ahead.
My services are basically consulting services. And I understand what Kerry's saying, and Kerry knows what my business is, but I understand what Kerry's saying about focusing in on one thing. But the way my brain works, if I only did the one thing, I'd get bored and I'd get pissed off and I'd leave. Okay. So I have a number of consulting type services that I offer that are all related in that I had the epiphany this weekend that they're all related in that they're helping people get their ideal careers. So I do Indigenous inclusion sessions, which helps employers find and retain Indigenous employees, which makes more opportunities for ideal careers for Indigenous peoples. I do career coaching to help people find the job that they want with the employer that they want. So that's about ideal career. And I help people who are starting or growing a business run their business, which in often cases means they're creating their own ideal career. So the ideal career thing is the epiphany I had this weekend, but it looks different. And now I'm working on messaging how to let people know it's helping them get to their ideal career.
Yeah.
So variety can be good. It depends what you do.
Right, because we do. That's an excellent point. I love that. Florina, go ahead.
I just wanted to say to Chantal that she actually articulates very well the idea. I got it. And her saying, I don't know how to articulate it. I understood what she meant. It's perfect.
So go back and listen to this recording, Chantal, and just type that messaging onto your website. Sometimes when we speak it, I'll be honest, especially, I mean, Chantal is a writer, but sometimes when we talk it out and we have a sounding board like this, it helps us to clarify what's inside our head. So I love that. I agree, it's clear, Chantal. But that's an excellent point. The common element here is finding them their ideal career path, whether that's an employer or their own self-employment. I love that. So find the common element and build the website around that so that that type of person is drawn in and knows that it resonates with them. Avery, over to you. You had a question.
Yes. So as we're talking about like choosing something that you're focusing on, so I just want to ask some tips about how to decide what audience to focus on, and then also maybe some tips how to design your website towards that audience.
Oh, I love this question. I'm all about audience. Who would like to jump in? Any thoughts on that? How do you decide what audience to serve?
I can kind of jump in.
Please.
I'll be honest, it took me a long time, like 7 years, long time to figure out who my ideal audience was. So I think in some ways, for me, it was who I enjoy working with the most, that is my current client, and where my income is coming from. And then now all of a sudden it like clicked this year finally as to where I'm finding those people. So like contractors, I'm finding on one social media path, I'm finding homeowners on another, and things like that. But I think you almost have to throw it out there a little bit, what you want to do, and then narrow it down once you kind of are doing it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Voice of experience there. I love that. And I have an answer if like for getting started, and then I'll hit it over to Caro as well. The idea, like, so Lisa has been doing it for 7 years and now has arrived at her ideal client. If you're just starting, I would say, what is the problem I'm solving? Which you probably know if you have a business. And very often, this might not be the case with you, Avery, but I find so many people I talk to, they're actually helping themselves a few years ago. Like they're solving a problem that they themselves were struggling with 5 years ago. It could have been even 6 months ago. The point is you're 6 months or 5 years ahead of that woman you were. And so you say, who's my ideal audience? It's me 5 years ago. Okay, then you have to take yourself back into her headspace, because you're not her anymore, right? And say, what was I struggling with? What were my obstacles? What were my limiting beliefs? What was my main pain point, right? And then you kind of literally have to put yourself back there and talk to that woman. If it's a woman, it might not be. It might, but in this case, it might be Avery 5 years ago. And then you would call her something else. Maybe, maybe my ideal client is Julie, who's struggling with this, this, and this. And when you realize that you're actually, I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I found this was exactly how it worked for me and for many others I've talked to. They actually realize they're serving someone like them. That's why they're so good at what they're doing, because they've been through this struggle and now they have the solution. They're selling the solution. They're credible because of their story and the path that has led them here. So that would be my 10 cents on it. Caro, go ahead.
I have another question. Yeah, can I go ahead?
Sure. Sorry, were there any other thoughts on audience, how to know who your audience is? Avery, did that help? Two totally different perspectives.
No, that helped a whole lot. That was really good.
Okay. All right. And if anybody else wants to add to the chat, I think that would be good. Go ahead. New question, Carol.
Okay. So like Lisa mentioned in the chat about the Digital Main Street program, I just applied for the grant and I'm hoping I'm gonna get the grant. But if I get it, I can use up to $1,000 for equipment. And I'm thinking about camera or like equipment for photo, product photo. So I just wonder what kind of equipment people use for their websites or social media. I just use my iPhone.
Great question. And if anybody's wondering about Digital Main Street, I put my email in there again into the chat. Reach out to me. I can get you info if you're in the greater Kingston region. Or if you're Canadian, Digital Main Street, I think, is across Canada. So or reach out to me. I can find you some info. A lot of our clients have received grants and support through Digital Main Street. What kind of equipment? So they're saying, we'll give you $1,000, but you have to show us what you would buy with that 1,000. In other words, I guess that's the question. Okay, thoughts from the group?
Honestly, you could do it with just a cell phone. Sometimes we overthink it. Good lighting is probably more important than
Lighting
the
is a
actual
good
equipment.
one. Yeah, like a ring light, you could definitely put that in there if you're not in front of a window. Chantal?
I was going to say good lighting, and you can do it from your phone or you can do it from your laptop. Because most laptops nowadays have a camera. So yeah, good lighting. You could
I guess a laptop, like if you didn't have a laptop, I guess you could say, I want to buy a new laptop
with an embedded
with a camera in it. Yeah.
No, you can't buy laptop.
Oh,
You can't buy printer. So my that program I applied for is $2,500, and then 1,000 out of it you can use for equipment.
gotcha.
Yes, yeah. So
But
another
not-
1,500.
Not hardware
I
or
don't know.
software? Not hardware or software?
Oh, you can do software. You can do hardware. Yeah, but not computer, not printers.
Okay, Sarah, you have a thought?
Where your product is T, you might be interested if the camera that you're looking at, you might be interested in a flat lay camera that goes down over top. It's on a reach arm. It's like when people are doing those drawing videos and stuff, that way you get really great steady pictures of your product without having to.
You could do videos of you preparing the tea, how to make the perfect cup of tea. And you could do all these videos like, oh my gosh, people would be mesmerized with pictures of just peeing, like doing all these tea photos. I mean, there's YouTube videos out there of people just pouring coffee. If they watch that, they'll watch you creating a perfect cup of tea. I love that idea.
I have a thought because I was looking into that, into an affordable, and I found out like I have a DSLR camera that I actually I hadn't even thought about using it because I want better quality of video. I'm just using now the laptop, and I feel that laptops like flatten you out and whatever, it's not as flattering. And anyway, so you use that, it's more, you get more of a, I don't know, it's a nicer look. But if you have it, or I'm thinking of actually contacting one of these photography shops. I'm in Toronto, so like there's Vistec or Henry's, like they specialize. And so you just get a DSLR and you can actually hook it up to your laptop. That way you have a camera for a good quality camera for your products, if you want still photographs, and also for streaming and recording, that is a good quality. So that's an option of one thing that can do a variety of things in a more better quality. And the other thing that I've been told is that a mic, a decent mic is really important, because the visual is important, but that people understand and hear you, you know, as you're speaking is really vital as well.
Yeah, good point. A tripod maybe as well, if you were to prop that up. Yeah, good question. All right, so hopefully that helps.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
helps you get an equipment list there together. And I think the question is, what are you going to use it for? What do you want to do? And you've already mentioned video, which I think was why some of us were mentioning some of those items. Hopefully would be helpful. Very cool. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. So I have been trying to monitor the chat. Is there a question that we would like to wrap up with today, or just sort of discuss as well?
I was just thinking as we were talking, like in order to make a website, you make a website, for example, for any number of products.
Yeah.
But can you also like put in like a about and main page so that it's more meaningful? For example, you know, part of the proceeds or part of the profit earned from this online business is going to Africa, for example, or orphans, stuff like that.
Yeah, I
This
think
makes
that,
it more
so it'd be your personal cause button. Like, I mean, if you had a further meaning, I think in the about section would probably be a good place to put that, like what your business stands for. Like the example of Tom's shoes, that when you buy a pair of Tom's shoes, one pair of that goes to a child. So you'd have to be, you could say that in the about section. And even if you were on Shopify, so Lamia, I think you're looking at a Shopify website, an e-commerce site, because we were speaking yesterday. The idea would be that, part of that Shopify website would be about us and giving the story, because the story is what's going to convince people to buy your product over another product. And then, so I would say, yes, you could absolutely include that as a part of your
and
story.
It will make, my father always used to call me my philosopher daughter.
Yeah.
So I kind of relate to people who are in need, because we all have needs. So to make my business more meaningful for even myself,
yes,
it should have more of a purpose to serve humanity more than just making the money.
Yeah, I love that. And so you need to tell your audience that, because that's the heart and soul of the business. And they might then choose to support your business over someone who offers a very similar product. So the story that we tell about ourselves and why we do what we do is our differentiating factor. It's our superpower. Our story is our superpower, for sure. It's what sets us apart. Whole topic for another day, but it's so true. I love that, Lamia. I love that you know what you're also about and you're deciding that. All right, so website, what are people using for platforms? Recommended platforms if someone was starting out, or even someone's thinking of switching over to something new. What are people using? Chantal's using
Weebly. I love Weebly, and I'll put my link in there again. What I love about it is if you can use a Word document and copy and paste stuff into a Word document, you can figure out how to use Weebly. There's like a thing on the side, and you just drag and put stuff in, and you make what you want. They have a whole whack of templates. But I love Weebly. I'll step down.
Chantal is a writer and a blogger, so keep that in. She's not necessarily an e-commerce site, so Shopify might be more for although she sells things. You sell things through your website.
Well, mostly my services. But Weebly is partnered with Squarespace. It's the same company now. And while I was looking for my referral code, I discovered that I could actually have my email embedded into Weebly now. I just didn't know that.
Cool. I've used Wix. I've used WordPress. Both of those I've used. Currently, I have a personal business and I use Wix. And I know it's not the highest one, but honestly, it's not where I spend all my time. So but it certainly works very well for me. It's free, like Weebly, Wix, these are free platforms. We actually have a workshop coming up with Truica Technologies, and I don't have the date, I think it's in December, where we're going to be focusing on websites as if someone else were building it for you. So stay tuned. I might have already put the link in the chat about how to get a hold of our upcoming workshops. So definitely stay tuned, because there's gonna be a really great website one coming out as well, with some expert advice, not so much discussion, but more sage on the stage formatting. What do other people use? And I'm gonna duck out again and duck back in because I'm having some Zoom difficulties. Sorry, folks. Go ahead, Chantal, you keep the conversation flowing.
Okay, I can do that. All right. Where were we? We've still got 6 minutes left. Is there anybody else using something beyond Wix, which I've heard great things about, or Weebly or WordPress? Yes. Go ahead.
I use Shopify. I used different ones before, but only because Shopify integrate with Canada Post. So they calculate all the shipping cost, and then a customer can choose. So that was the selling point for me. And then recently I shipped to Yellowknife even. So yeah, that was good. I don't know another e-commerce platform so much, but if you want to sell in Canada, Canada Post is easy to use, and then I recommend Shopify.
Great, thanks. Is anybody else using, I see Avery's using Wix. Mobile editor is limited. Okay, yeah. There's other stuff.
Does anybody use Squarespace? Because I was looking for ease of use and just because I know nothing about. I love what you said about, oh, just put copy in and put some pictures in and not worry about it so much because it's the bane of my existence at the moment. So
I think Sarah said she uses it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Just pick a simple template, and the best thing to do is figure out what your 3 pages that you really want are, write them, and then just you can drag and drop the pictures. It's pretty straightforward to actually do, but you really do the writing part first. Don't try and do it online because it won't work and then you'll get overwhelmed really easily.
Yeah, and then does it integrate with your one of the things that I was like, I don't understand how the email part, like to put my, if I put an email that I already have for my business, can I do that? Or because I was reading their stuff and it said that it integrates with Google, what is that called? Workspace or something like that, or Google Works, something like that. And I'm going, but then everything goes through them. And I don't necessarily want that much integration. I just want to use my email that I already have. And
you just have to link it in through. I think you may have to pay a little bit to link an external one that isn't through them. They have a deal with G Suite, which I took it. I freaking love it. I was really hesitant at the beginning to do it because like you, I did not want that much integration.
Yeah.
But it's awesome and it's simple and and it's cheap. It's like, I don't know, to have, so it's got your actual domain email on it. And I think it was for the first year, because when I bought my website, I think the first year I paid $8 for the whole year. And now I think it's like, I don't know, 18 for the year, which again, still super cheap as far as I'm concerned to have a dedicated email with your domain.
Yeah. That's a great point. And simple, right? Because it sounded complicated, but it's simple. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Okay.
Thanks for that.
Baton back to you, Kerry.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with this Zoom today, but hey, we've all been there. So lots of great questions. And I think one thing I'll suggest as well, you can keep the conversation going if you want to. We have a closed Facebook group, which anyone who is, basically in the Kingston or in the WeCan community is welcome to join. Again, you can just reach out to me. Probably, I don't have it right here. It's called, well, I'll write it what it is. It's called the WeCan Community of Women Entrepreneurs. I'm just going to put closed Facebook group. And so you just have to request to join, or you can reach out to me at any time if you want more information, whether that is on things that we've talked about today or connections or such. So definitely keep in touch. And Sarah, just drop your website there before we close off so that Lorena has a copy as well. It's so great to connect with you all again. And I know that we're getting into the colder months, at least here in Canada, for those, some of you are right here where it's getting colder. But this is a great season for us to start hunkering down and focusing on some of these things like websites, social media discussions, some really great, I think, needle movers in our business, because we're talking about communication. We're talking about connecting with audiences. And so the last point I just like to leave with people is always look at it through your audience's eyes, because it's looking great to us, but let's show it to some potential clients or potential, others who might be in our audience, so we can get their feedback and, get them to audit, like do a draft and say, okay, what do you think? Just get some feedback. And you don't have to do absolutely everything that they say. Take it with a grain of salt but it's good to get outside our bubble, because especially when we're solopreneurs, we start to have meetings with ourselves and it gets a little bit crazy. So you'd want to bring people in to get some feedback, some advice. I think that's always helpful. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and apologize for the Zoom little blips there, but thanks to those of you who jumped in. It's always great seeing you folks. So have a wonderful day, everyone.